Welcome back to the Little Brain Campaign. I am your host, Dr. Lauren LaRose. I am a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist and adult psychiatrist. And in this podcast, I like to talk to experts in various fields related to mental health and physical health of kids and their caregivers. And today I have the honor of speaking with Collin McConnell. She is a speech and language pathologist, and she has a practice in Mobile, Alabama, or should I say, I don't know, how do y'all say Mobile? Mobile.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all say it differently.
Yeah.
And she focuses primarily on social emotional learning, sensory integration, and brain integration. And so we're going to break that down with her, and she is going to teach us all about what she does. So thanks for being here, Collin.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, in my journey as a therapist, as a speech pathologist, I started to realize that there's so much more to what the kids were coming in with. So they were coming in to see me for like a speech issue or social skills, language. And over the years, I started to realize, well, there was so much more behind what they were coming in for.
Mm-hmm.
So that just like led me down this journey of figuring out that like there's sensory issues related to that, motor skills, social emotional. There's just so many layers that sorry, I'm stumbling on my words, but to what they were coming in to see me for.
Right.
So, and then fast forward, I have my own kids who truly had so many issues just at birth, like from the very beginning. Yeah. And so, I taking what I know and then being a mom and trying to find help, and just not being able to find anything locally. So I started, digging deeper, finding people, other places, doing Zoom calls. And I was hearing the same thing. These more functional type doctors, there's more than what you're seeing on the outside. So that is what pushed me to start this business. And it's a unique situation, but the parent comes in, I listen, we talk a little bit about their developmental history, their concerns, their goals. And then our focus, if they come see me here, is we're going to focus on 4 things. So we're going to focus on movement, so purposeful and intentional exercises that are meant to help both sides of the brain integrate and work together. We're going to work on like timing and rhythm, and I use interactive metronome to do that. And then we're going to have a social emotional piece. Maybe that's like a 20-minute lesson, or, depends on the kid's unique needs. Like if the parent really wants to hone in more on that, we kind of use a cognitive behavioral type approach. We may spend more time on that. Depends on the kid. And then we're always going to do sensory integration. And I use different things for that, but I have this like special tool. It's called a ResiMax, and it's basically like, I don't know, a medical grade vibration tool. And you use it in specific ways to help like the sensory pathways and everything. And so the thought is, like, if you're working on the whole package, you're going to get a bigger impact on those kind of higher level goals that people really initially come in for. So I kind of think of it like a pyramid. Like if you think of the brain as a pyramid and you've got the higher level skills, like the social, the behavior, the academics, that's going to be at the top. But if you neglect the bottom foundational brain things, there's always gaps. If you're seeing gaps at the top, there's going to be gaps at the bottom. And so if you just neglect the foundation, you might see progress, but you're just never going to get to where you really want to be. So that's where I work, the place that I kind of work from. And we do some parent coaching too, because I feel like that's always a piece
Yep.
of the puzzle.
Yep.
But anyway.
So what are some like reasons or I guess diagnoses or conditions that you would see lead to this like lack of integration?
So, at the very bottom of the pyramid, there's this thing called primitive reflexes. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Babies, you're born with these reflexes and you need them to survive as a baby.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they're supposed to integrate. Basically, they're supposed to go to sleep when you don't need them anymore.
Right.
And, really by a year, they should all be integrated. But for various reasons, some kids' primitive reflexes do not integrate. So they're still present. And that's kind of like that very, very bottom of the pyramid. So if the primitive reflexes are still there, it's going to affect how the rest of the brain develops.
Right.
So I don't know if I got off track from your question, but that comes up a lot. So, parents will come in, they'll start, describing ADHD, autism, dyslexia, a lot of sensory issues, and just a lot of behavior, hard to handle kids. And I've got 2 of them myself. And it's hard, but yeah. So, but the more I start talking to the parents, they tell me this history. Most of the time that's part of the puzzle. So, but yeah, I would say most people are kind of coming in initially with, just behavior, social, emotional, big feelings, transitions, difficulty at school, that kind of thing. So,
okay. So where are you seeing, like, if you're picking this apart, a parent's telling, let's say, it's mostly behavioral issues. Okay. So like defiant behaviors, emotional dysregulation, low frustration tolerance, that kind of thing. So, challenging child. Okay. Strong-willed child. And you're in your brain picking apart, like, where are these, what do these primitive reflexes look like in a kid like that?
So, I love to use this one as an example. So the Moro reflex is a good one that a lot of people remember when the child was a baby. So it's the one where you like put them in the crib and they kind of startle, or they hear a loud noise, or if they feel like they're falling, you'll see them flinch. So if that one's still present, it can keep kids in that just fight or flight mode.
Okay.
Where everything's flighty, like they're oversensitive to noise. And so sometimes, parents, like I had a parent come in the other day and she was like, we'll go to these like events at school, like a carnival at school. And this child's 4. And she just like runs away and she doesn't listen. And she's just, will just leave and talk to her a little bit more. I'm like, well, is she sensitive to noise? And she's like, yeah, she is. She covers her ears a lot. And so you take that kid and put them in a big environment, and really their brain is just registering this like loud noise, big groups of people, and they kind of go in that fight or flight mode. So you see the behavior, which is they're running away, they're not listening, but really, there's their brain's in kind of alert mode. And they don't even realize it, So the Moro reflex can cause a lot of that fight or flighty, anxiety, hyper, a lot of movement, sensory sensitivities. That's a good example. And then the rooting reflex, I see a lot still present in kids as a speech therapist. The rooting reflex is what kids use to breastfeed. So it's an automatic, latch to breastfeed. But if it sticks around, you can, like if you stroke the child's cheek, you can see their lip will flinch. And that means it's still there. And so it can cause speech issues, feeding issues, just kind of low tone. It can cause a lot of different things. So to integrate it, you just basically just have to stroke the area to try to get the body to like get rid of it.
Okay.
So that's a good example. There's certain ones that can cause vision issues. So there's a lot of research out there, like with dyslexia. That just a lot of dyslexia is a vision issue. So if you have a certain reflex present, it's called the AT&R reflex, and it's what kind of helps your head move from side to side. So if it's still present, it can cause issues with how the eyes move, coordination, balance. It can cause a lot of symptoms. So that's a good one. Good example. But it's really interesting if you start reading about it.
Yeah. So do we know like why do these reflexes fail to integrate in the brain? Do we know that?
We don't really know 100% why. But there are some common reasons, and a lot of it can be just related to any kind of trauma at birth. Which makes sense if you really think about it. The baby comes out already in fight or flight mode. So the baby already thinks like is already triggered for like over triggered for survival. So like the body hangs on to them thinking it needs them, when it doesn't need them. C-section is a big one. Both my kids were C-section babies, and they both have these reflexes still present. I'm still trying to help theirs integrate. It's a lot harder to work with your own kids.
Yes, it is.
So anyway, C-section's a big one. It's almost like guaranteed that you probably still have them if you're born via C-section. And it's because the baby needs to go through the birth canal to like get this certain I don't think pressure is the right word, but there's something about going through the birth canal that the child needs to have, I guess, the best, regulated way to come into the world.
Got it. Okay.
So C-section is a big one, but it could be environmental factors. There's different reasons, but we don't really know, 100%.
What about, do you see, like in terms of birth trauma, do you see like meconium aspiration being one of them?
Remind me.
Like, okay, so like sometimes, because I'm saying this because one of my kids had this. My kid, who is my strong-willed child, had this. Like if they're, they basically poop when they're still in the womb, and then they aspirate it. Okay, so when the baby is delivered and you see like like there's like brown stuff coming out with them. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Actually, honestly, I've never heard that. But
it would make sense because it's like they come out and they can't breathe immediately, right? Like they can't take that first breath, and so someone has to suction them so that they can breathe.
If you think about a lot of behavioral issues, I feel like a lot of them can be tied back to just like that fight or flight response. And what that is in our brain is a survival response that we all have. And so, if you think about it from that perspective, they already came out with that trigger. That survival trigger. And their nervous system is going to start developing from that place,
Okay. So you see, birth trauma is one way where this, this path towards like lack of integration happens. What else do you see like in early childhood?
Well, a lot. I don't know if you've heard of this in New Orleans, but in Mobile, we have this, like so many people, both my kids have a milk allergy. Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
So like both my kids were allergic to my breast milk.
Yep.
Which is wild to me. So it took me so my first one, it took me a while to figure out that's what it was.
Uh-huh.
I mean, she screamed and screamed, just the most
Mm-hmm.
colic baby. Um, so her gut was
Yeah.
messed up from the very
Yep.
beginning.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
there's a huge brain gut connection.
Yep.
So I think that's also something that I hear
Yeah.
a lot. So many
Mm-hmm.
people who have come in, I can almost guarantee you they were C-section babies,
Mm-hmm.
they had the milk allergy, or they had something happen at birth. I mean, almost always,
Yep. Yep. Okay.
you know.
Do
So
you see kids who, maybe there's not something you can identify, any kind of like birth trauma
mhm.
or like trauma in infancy or anything like
Yeah.
that, but they have something like, I'm saying this for selfish reasons because my child has this, like pans and pandas.
Yes, I'm not like super familiar with that, but I've been reading about it
Mm-hmm.
because it's becoming more talked about, and
Yeah.
uh, it's kind of more of a thing now, I feel like.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so, but I'm not super familiar with it.
Okay. What about like with autism? So like
Yeah.
tell us like what do you see when it comes to autism, or how does that change your treatment, what you're actually doing with the kid?
Like, you mean the primitive reflex stuff?
Yeah, that, and just like what kind of symptoms are you seeing that, tend to pop up with
Well,
those kids?
with autism, well, really, to me, I kind of think of it all the same,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's all the same thing. I mean, you can
Mhm.
categorize it,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, it's you have symptoms,
Yep. Yep.
and the symptoms have a root issue.
Mhm.
And trying to figure out what the root issue is what's so hard. So whether it be like autism, ADHD, the PANS,
Mhm.
I'm kind of viewing it from the same lens
Yep.
as your nervous system's out of whack,
Yep.
and something's going on with the foundation, with the brain foundations, and how
Mhm.
your brain connected. And so with autism, we definitely are going to look at the primitive reflexes, and we're going to work on those. Um, Sensory is such a big symptom and aspect of autism, and then that
Yep.
social emotional aspect. But it's all connected, you know.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, it's just a brain response, a nervous system response to some kind of root issue.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I don't know if you've ever heard of the, I'm going to butcher the name of this, the Miola method.
No.
This is the book.
Okay.
Um, so he's big on primitive reflexes and how the brain develops the left and the right brain.
Mhm.
And if there's something that happens at birth or with the physical development or the sensory motor system, one part of the brain can start to overdevelop to compensate for the other part of the brain.
Okay.
And then his idea is that you have this, the brain is not balanced.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, say your right brain is underdeveloped and the left brain will start to really overcompensate for the right
Mhm.
brain. And that's kind of what you see with autism a lot.
Mhm.
You have these like very logical left brain kids,
Yep. Yep.
and then they've got this gap, and their right brain's kind of not doing its job, what it
Uh-huh.
needs to do. And so his idea is that if you try to integrate the brain and you do all these exercises to try to stimulate the weaker side of the brain,
Mhm.
you're going to get more connection, and you're going to reduce a lot of the symptoms that you see
Okay.
with autism and ADHD
Yeah.
and all those things. So that was something really, like, I never learned that in school. But I'm like,
Of
that makes
course.
perfect sense. That makes
Yep.
perfect
Yep.
sense to me. Of course, you know?
Yep.
So I feel like I'm not answering your questions. I feel like I'm just
But you're doing great because you're answering questions that I was going to ask anyway.
okay.
What about like do you see sensory issues like you know, a lot of these kids, I mean, even my kid, like he doesn't have autism, but you know, because of the pans, he has this where it's like the fabrics, the seams, the tags, the socks,
oh my gosh. Both my kids are sensory kids and they both present differently. And I have a girl and a boy. And my daughter has never really complained about clothes. She's a very picky eater.
Yep.
Sensitive to noise, very fight or flighty. And then my son is not picky, really, other than, I mean, typical picky. But oh my gosh, pants, socks, shirts, it is a nightmare. He will only wear certain socks. He hates pants. And so basically, you know, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, whether it be like the primitive reflex issues or, you know, we've got some brain balancing issues going on, their nervous system is getting triggered by, you know, if it's a sock that doesn't feel right on your foot, it's sending them into like fight mode.
Yeah.
And this sock is now a dangerous sock because it made me feel bad.
Yep.
You know, or the food, like the look of the broccoli is now I'm in fight mode and I don't want to be near the broccoli, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just this nervous system overactive fight or flight response to these things that we all have little sensory quirks. Yeah. I mean, I still do as an adult, but I also have a fully developed brain and can say, well, this sock is really uncomfortable, but I'm just going to wear it anyway because I'm late and I got to go to school, you know, got to go to work or whatever. But like, you know, young kids, they don't have that fully developed part of their brain to kind of step in and say, all right, it's just, okay, fine. Your mom's saying you're late. You got to go, just wear the sock. You know, to them, they're just like, they can't access that logic.
Right.
First of all, because they're kids and they're still developing. But second of all, their brain is just overreacting to this to us seemingly small problem.
Right.
But in their mind it is not a small problem. So, you know, you get these little sensory, we all have sensory things, but you've got an overreactive response to that sensory thing.
Right. So it's like their brain hasn't learned to like kind of tune out the little minor discomforts throughout the day that most of our brains have learned to tune out.
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
Okay. So when you so like prior to having your kids, all right, when you were working as a speech language pathologist, probably doing just like traditional speech language pathology, I'm guessing.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And like how, cause would you say that like a lot of what you're doing, is it kind of like in the occupational therapy world?
Yes.
A lot of what you're doing. Yeah. Okay. So like how did you end up, I know your kids were a big part of it, and I get that because that nothing will motivate you more to change the way you work than like your child having a problem and there's no one that can help them, because that's I'm in that boat too. But like how did you like make that transition? Like what were you seeing that you were like, okay, I'm missing the boat? Yeah.
So I started out working in an outpatient clinic and a hospital. So I did adults and kids. And I did outpatient adults, outpatient kids. So adults who had stroke or brain injury, and then kids. So I was kind of seeing both, and then also kind of in the hospital. But the kids that were coming in were like pretty extreme cases. And to be honest, I really was not prepared at all as a speech therapist for these like major behavioral kids coming in.
Yeah.
And so it sort of took everything I knew as just like a young speech pathologist, and sort of like I had to learn how to do behavior therapy basically.
Yep.
And I worked with an occupational therapist, and we would co-treat a lot
Okay.
because she would have to do the sensory integration and the calming piece so that I could even do my part at
Right.
the higher level, part that everybody wants. Everybody wants their kid to talk. But it's hard to even get there without the other thing. So anyway, we would work together. And then I just kept getting these kids. And so I had to do more continuing education, had to figure this stuff out, how to help the parents. And I look back sometimes and I'm like, wow, the advice I gave as a therapist with no kids, to these parents, they're like, yeah, thank you. But anyway, and then long story short, I ended up working under a behavior therapist, worked on a lot of social skills, a lot of self-regulation, emotional regulation. And so that's just where I started to do most of my continuing education and what I became passionate about. And then I started to do more research on the sensory stuff and the reflex stuff, more like when my kids were born.
Yeah.
Yep. And then it just clicked. And I was like, wow, like, yes, this makes so much sense. And I'm just passionate about being effective.
Yeah.
Like, I want parents to have the most impact out of these sessions. Like, if you're going to come see me for 1 hour and you're going to pay this money, like, I want you to get the most out of that.
Yeah.
That's going to help your kid, make the most progress.
Yep.
And so that's what kind of led me down this path of bringing this piece into what I do.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a blend. It's definitely a lot of occupational therapy, but that's the other thing about like occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. It's all related and it's all connected, and really we need each other. Like, we really don't need to be separated.
Yep.
Because one's always affecting the other.
Yep.
Rarely, like, even as a speech therapist, rarely did I just have that like easy peasy kid that came in and they just really needed help with their R's and that was it. I mean, of course that happened, but rarely. There's usually always something else. So that's kind of how I got here.
And is it like your practice model, is this something that's like, clearly outlined and like exists other places, or you kind of just had to put all this together out of necessity? Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. And I'm still figuring things out. And I'm definitely doing this on I would say just a small scale. There are people out there that are doing what I'm doing on a way bigger scale. And I always try to direct parents that way too. I'm like, you know what, if you want more, there are options.
Yeah.
So what I'm kind of doing this on a small scale, but there are people out there who are doing it bigger and more intensive and just not in Mobile.
Yeah. But the beauty of like you owning your own practice is that you can learn and change what you're doing as you go. Like, you can pivot at any point and like incorporate new things. And, and that's how we help people, is like constantly learning,
constantly.
It
There's
never
always
stops.
something else to learn.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And I definitely don't know it all. That's for sure. But, I just want, I want parents to have more, and I want the kids to have more. And I guess even for my kids, like, I want these kids to not be so misunderstood.
Yes.
And I think that's, you get a lot of labels. And, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, but these kids end up sort of like offending everybody throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then they get the adults in their life, you end up developing this like shame and
Yeah.
sense of self that is
Mm-hmm.
not good.
Yep.
And I can't help but think about those kids as older
Mm-hmm.
carrying that stuff. So, I want to help teachers, adults, parents, at least understand better, like
Yeah.
what's happening. And
Yep.
and you see that when you explain, like, hey, this is like a very fight or flighty thing, and it makes sense, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
and you don't look at your kids so bad anymore.
Yep.
When someone explains it and makes it make sense, you're less offended by your kid.
Yes,
Myself included.
absolutely.
I mean, I get offended by my kids all the time. I mean, like this morning was awful, and I don't always show up as the therapist mom
Yeah.
like I should. I
Yeah.
mess up
Yeah.
all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very, very hard to parent these kids. Like,
Yes.
I know it. I deal with it every day.
Yep.
I mean, my daughter gave me the hardest time this morning, just trying to get to school.
Yeah.
And I didn't show up great. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
reflecting on it afterwards, and I was like, God, I mean, really, I think she was just really anxious about going to school.
Yeah.
And she totally just was acting out, and but really at the end of the day, I think it was just avoidance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I couldn't see it in that moment. And I think that's what the hardest part of being a parent
Yes.
is. You get triggered by these kind of offensive behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always forward thinking, right? Like, we're always like, but I have to get you to school. But I have to get you to school. I have to get you to this place. And they're not, they're not forward thinking. They're not thinking about anything that we're thinking about.
No.
And so, yeah, like you find yourself, without even realizing it, myself included, kind of going like shaming them into doing the things you want them to do. And that's what makes me sad is because we know what it's like as an adult to try to have to unlearn all these negative, like, self-talk things that we do. And I just think back, gosh, like, if someone had taught me this stuff when I was little, like, maybe I wouldn't have to unlearn so much now as a grown up. And so that's what I ultimately, I just want to help. I want to help these kids. I want to help parents, not get into this cycle of stuff. And it's hard. It's so hard.
It is so hard.
It's hard to be the
kid's
teacher. It's hard to be the kid's parent.
Yep.
But eventually their brains are going to get stronger and better. And a lot of the stuff that they're going through when they're younger will get better. But, you've got to preserve your relationship with them.
Yes.
And the trust.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's really hard to get back.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how I got there, but
but I mean, I think this is what parents need to hear. Like, they need to hear the information and the resources, but they also need this validation that like, this is hard. And like,
so hard.
There are providers and professionals out there who understand it from a personal experience. Like, we get it because we're dealing with it in our own homes. Like, it's hard.
So hard. And you don't always do it right.
No, and you're never going to do it right 100%.
Tell parents this. I'm like, look, I don't do it all the time either, even though I do know a lot of things. I do have a lot of strategies that I use. But it's not always easy to do it in real time.
Nope.
And that's why I think the most important part is to try to know your why. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really like trying to help parents with. Like, I feel like if you know your why and you can kind of see where your kid's coming from, a lot of times it will calm you down.
Yes.
It will calm the kid down.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes things less intense. And then you can sort of access like, okay, what strategy do I need to try to use here?
Yes.
But sometimes that's the hardest part, as the parent, is unlearning things that you just know as a kid, or how you were raised, or triggered from your childhood. And
yes.
And Southern culture is a big influence too, because I mean, culturally, there's just this expectation that like you just are supposed to do this right, and you do it, and you don't complain, and you don't cry. And I'm definitely not saying there's not room for that, too, but we're having to really unlearn how we grew up. And not try to like bring that into these hard moments. There's so much more demands on kids now. And I think that's why, I do think that's part of why we are seeing more and more of these behavioral issues too. I don't think that's 100% always the answer, but school's harder, the days are longer, the expectation in first grade is way different than the expectation was for us. But the brains haven't changed. Like, development has not changed. But we have changed as a society, and we're putting so much on them that they're really not ready for.
No.
And not that kids can't be conditioned to do stuff. I mean, they can, but that's why I think you get a lot of pushback, a lot more social emotional issues, a lot more intense feelings, because we're putting just a lot on them. And I mean, back to my daughter this morning, I started thinking about it, and she turned 7, and she just started, we're just going through a thing, but a lot of big emotions. And I'm like trying to wrap my brain. I'm like, once I got her to school, I'm like, what's the hang up here? And I started thinking about what she was saying, and she was like, well, I don't want to go to school. She's like, my stomach hurts when I get to school. It's like, why do you think your stomach hurts? Like, is it because you're hungry, or like, do we need to start eating a better breakfast? Are you nervous? And she just kept saying no to everything. I don't even know if she knows.
Yeah.
But I was like, of course you don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
I'm making you separate from me, from your home, where you feel good, where it's safe. And you're going knowing that you're about to have to do a lot of structure, a lot of hard work, things that are hard. You're starting to experience social things. You're starting to notice, like, when this person's mean to you, or I didn't fit in, or whatever. I mean, they're picking up on these things. Like, of course I don't go. And so then you're like, when you look at it that way, you can show up better, I think, as a parent, than kind of getting stuck like I did this morning. I was like stuck on, we're going to be late. You have all these tardies. Like, we got to get you out the door. Like, I was kind of missing what I needed to focus on, because just this pressure of like, you got to get there. So anyway, we just have to think like, we're making them fit into our world. And that's not really their world. Like,
no.
And so, you're going to see intense emotions and pushback, and, you're going to see this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, I told you I just recorded a podcast right before yours, and we ended at the same conversation. It's so funny. Like, it was the same conversation of like, we are trying to a lot of times like force this square peg into this round hole, and like force this kid to accommodate to our world and fit into our world and fit our expectations of what they should be doing. And
absolutely,
and there are some kids who are born compliant, and they're going to go right along because they want to please you, and they just do what they're told.
Exactly.
And then there are some kids who are not.
But do you feel like the compliance kids can be scarier sometimes? Because
I think
I'm like, it comes out sometime.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like the harder kids are forcing you to do the work now.
Yes.
And the compliant kids are sort of letting you get away with things as a parent, but like it comes out some
Yep.
way, somehow.
Probably in
You know?
adolescence.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So, I feel like neither one is better than the other. Like
Yeah.
they both have their like pros and cons as a parent, and like the hard kids are really just making you really work.
Yes. And
Early.
it makes you, and like the guy that I was talking to you with before,
Mhm.
he was like, it forces you to change as a
It
parent. It
does.
forces you to face your own
It
demons
does.
and to transform. And like that's hard, but
Very
that's
hard.
part of being a human and being in relationships is like you're supposed to change and grow. And with the strong-willed kids, it's just going to happen earlier rather than
Going to
later,
happen earlier, and it's going to be really hard. But I always say this too, like you will never regret putting in this work now
Yes.
with your 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year old.
Yep.
Like putting them in a social emotional class. A lot of parents are like, do they really need that? I'm like, you're teaching them skills that are lifelong, like
Yep.
forever. Like
Yep.
you will never regret spending
Mhm.
money or time trying to teach your kids this stuff. And like putting in that work.
Yep.
You're gonna reap those benefits like forever. And it's so much easier to change and work with a 6, 7-year old than it is like
Yep.
a 12, 13-year old who
Yes.
has so much learned behavior to undo.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, yeah, these
That is
hard
so
kids
true.
kind of force you to face it.
Yep. Yep.
And it's
Yep.
uncomfortable. It's very
Mhm.
uncomfortable, especially when you have like socially, you have friends staring at you like, why is your kid
Yeah.
acting like this? Or your
Mhm.
parents, like my mom,
Mhm.
even, old school, like, I can't believe you're allowing this. Like if you try to use a gentle voice
Mhm.
and instead of like that authoritative, like you're
Yeah.
whatever, you've got people who are going to judge you. And that
Yep.
makes it even harder.
It makes it
You're
even
being on bad
harder.
bread trying to
Mhm.
do this stuff right. And then you've got
Mhm.
kind of that social norm thing that
Yep.
you're working against. So,
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's not easy. This is not easy stuff to do. These are not easy kids to parent.
nope.
But if you can, help these kids to learn these skills and learn how to help themselves at a young age, it's going to pay off long term. And these kids do have so many like wonderful traits
They
that
do.
are going to be make them amazing adults.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of it too. We forget, and I'm guilty of this too, to like praise in these kids, especially. I think we forget
Yeah.
to do this as adults in general, but like especially these kids who you're constantly trying to correct, you're constantly trying to help
Mhm.
them, you're constantly like trying to teach them things. We forget to praise them when they do the right thing, or
Yeah.
or give them that attention when they do
Mhm.
it right, or for their good qualities. Like
Yep.
you're so funny. Like I love when you made your bed this morning. Like we forget to just give them that praise for just like the things that are expected, I guess.
Yeah.
And so they don't ever, then of course they're not motivated. When they're not getting a lot of
Yep.
positive feedback just for doing the little things. So I think that's a big part of it too with these hard kids is you really got to praise them for the little things.
Yep.
Even if it's like, oh, you brush your teeth today. Very dumb. Like, you think you shouldn't have to, but you do.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's the little wins. It's the little
it
wins you
is.
got to appreciate.
You
Um,
know, yeah, speaking of that, I'm sorry, I know we got to go, but like a lot of times parents will be like high expectations, like they just won't even brush their teeth. And I'm like, I get it.
mhm.
But let's don't be offended by that. I
Yeah.
know they should be able to brush their teeth, yes. But for whatever reason, we're like hung up on these like little daily tasks. So
Yeah.
just kind of reduce your expectation. You know, you're still going to have that
Yep.
expectation.
Yep.
Yes, they need to be able to do these daily tasks, but just kind of lower it a little bit sometimes and just meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Like I have friends who are like, "Oh, my kid packs their lunch every day." I'm like, "Nope, we're not even close to being there yet." Like, and I've just accepted that. Like one day we will be, but we're
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah. Yep.
So you kind of have to give yourself a lot
And
of grace.
grace, and give
Yeah.
your kids some grace too.
Give your kids
Yeah.
grace.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. We will attach in the show notes how to find Collin. We got disconnected right at the end there, but we will let y'all know how to find her, and we'll put her social media tags in there. Thanks for listening. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Little Brain Campaign podcast. If you've been enjoying our show, give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. If you know someone else who would enjoy this conversation, please take a minute to share this episode with them and help grow our audience. See you next time.